By the time you realize you're being emotionally manipulated, you've already been convinced it's your fault. That's what makes emotional manipulation different from every other form of control. It doesn't use force. It doesn't need to. It works by getting inside your perception of reality and quietly rearranging it until you can no longer trust your own feelings, your own memory, or your own judgment. Today we're talking about 7 signs of emotional manipulation. The ones most people miss, because the manipulator has already taught them not to see them. If this is already resonating, subscribe. New video every week, and every video goes deeper. Sign 1. Your feelings are always the problem, never the behavior that caused them. This is the foundational move of emotional manipulation, and it's worth understanding precisely because it's so effective. When something someone does hurts you, and you express that hurt, the focus immediately shifts. Not to what they did, to how you expressed it. You're too sensitive. You overreact. You always make everything about your feelings. The original behavior, the thing that actually caused the hurt, disappears from the conversation entirely. Over time, this teaches you something dangerous. That having feelings is the problem. That your emotional responses are the source of conflict, not the behavior that triggered them. And so you start editing yourself. You stop bringing things up. You decide your reactions are probably too much. This is not an accident. It's the result. The manipulator doesn't need you to stop hurting. They need you to stop noticing that they caused it. Sign 2. Apologies that change nothing. An apology is supposed to do 2 things: acknowledge that harm was done and signal an intention to change. When one or both of these are missing, what you have is not an apology. It's a management tool. Emotional manipulators are often skilled at performing apologies. The words are there. The apparent remorse is there. What's not there is the change. The behavior continues, sometimes immediately, sometimes after a brief pause. And when you point this out, the apology itself becomes a defense. I already apologized. What more do you want? Now you're the unreasonable one. You're the one who can't let things go. The apology has been weaponized, not to repair, but to close down accountability and reposition you as the problem. The test of an apology is never in the words. It's in what comes after. Sign 3. They need your constant emotional availability, but are never available for yours. Emotional manipulation often involves a profound imbalance in who gets to have needs in the relationship. Their distress is always urgent. Their crises always require immediate attention. Their bad days are events that reorganize the emotional life of everyone around them. But when you're struggling, when you need support, presence, or simply to be heard, something always intervenes. They're busy. They're dealing with their own things. They redirect the conversation back to themselves, or they offer something so minimal that it barely registers as support at all. Over time, you begin to feel that your needs are unreasonable, not because anyone has said so explicitly, but because the evidence seems to suggest it. Your needs are consistently not met. Theirs consistently are. The conclusion that feels available is that your needs must be the problem. It isn't. The system is designed this way. Sign 4. Your reality is constantly under revision. That's not what happened. You're remembering it wrong. I never said that. You're imagining things. Emotional manipulation frequently involves a sustained attack on your perception of events. Not a single dramatic confrontation, but a slow, steady accumulation of small corrections to your memory, your interpretation, and your emotional responses. The effect, over time, is that you stop trusting yourself. You start checking, was I there? Did that really happen the way I remember it? Am I overreacting? And as your trust in your own perception erodes, your dependence on the manipulator's version of reality increases. This is the function, not the side effect. A person who trusts their own perception is significantly harder to control than a person who doesn't. Undermining your trust in yourself is not an accident. It's a strategy. Sign 5. Guilt is used as currency. In healthy relationships, guilt is information. It signals that something you did may have caused harm and invites repair. In emotionally manipulative relationships, guilt is a control mechanism. It's deployed strategically, not to repair, but to produce compliance. To make you do things you wouldn't otherwise do, to prevent you from doing things you otherwise would. The manipulator doesn't need to feel wronged. They need you to feel guilty. These are entirely different things. And the people most skilled at producing guilt in others are often people who feel very little of it themselves, because guilt requires the capacity to genuinely consider the impact of your actions on another person. Watch for guilt that appears at convenient moments. Guilt that surfaces precisely when you are asserting yourself, setting a limit, or considering leaving. Guilt that has no clear relationship to anything you've actually done wrong. This is not information, it is pressure. Sign 6. The terms of the relationship keep changing. One of the most disorienting features of emotionally manipulative relationships is that the rules are never stable. What was fine yesterday is unacceptable today. What they asked for last week, they now deny having wanted. The behavior they praised in you last month has become the thing they criticize you for this month. You cannot find solid ground because the ground is not designed to be found. This is sometimes conscious and sometimes not. But the effect is the same. You are constantly off balance, constantly trying to figure out what is needed to restore stability, constantly adapting to a moving target you can never quite reach. The chronic instability is the point. A person who is always adjusting, always trying, always reaching for a standard that keeps shifting, is a person who is too busy to step back and ask whether the relationship itself is the problem. Sign 7. Leaving feels impossible, but staying is destroying you. This is the sign that most people experience last, and understand only in retrospect. Emotional manipulation, over time, produces a very specific kind of trap. The relationship has been structured so that leaving feels catastrophic, because the manipulator has become so central to your sense of reality, your self-worth, and your identity that you cannot imagine yourself outside of it. What will you do without them? Who will you be? This is not love holding you there. It's architecture. The dependency was constructed piece by piece through the systematic erosion of your trust in yourself, your connections to others, and your belief that you deserve better. And the cruelest part, by the time you're in this trap, you usually believe you built it yourself. You didn't. Recognize the signs. Trust what you feel, and know that the inability to leave is not evidence that the relationship is good. It is often the clearest evidence that something is very wrong. Subscribe for more videos on dark psychology, manipulation, and how to protect your mind. I'll see you next week.